these go is probably a little different than what it looks like on YouTube. We spend the first part kind of diving into what the challenges are, what the successes are, how we can best help you. We'll dig into some of the research of the background of the birds, and that really helps us figure out how we can help you. We're listening for little itty-bitty details of things you say and how you say them, and that tells us a ton. So it may feel like there's a slow start to the beginning, but we're really diving into your inner workings of your mind to find out what we need to do to make little adjustments. With that being said, the last 3/4 of the class will be as hands-on as we can.
So today you guys get to meet Angie and her pineapple green cheek conure Webley, who thankfully is on the proper diet. She eats our seasonal feeding system and our organic pellets. She's also the only bird. So Angie and her husband only have Webley, which is kind of unheard of nowadays. Most people suffer from multiple bird syndrome around here. Webley also gets 10 to 12 hours of sleep, and Angie describes her as pretty much perfect. So she's out of the cage for about 6 hours a day, and Angie's only goal today is just to have a better relationship with Webley. Now, Webley currently targets, but Angie's been struggling to train the spin because, one, she lost a little bit of interest, but also so does Webley. Webley just won't stay on a stand because she always wants to be on Angie.
We'll see what she does. Come on, Beans.
Thank you. Yay!
All right, so let's see if you can show me. I just want to see 5 repetitions of things that she knows. That's cute. Cool, I'm just going to clean you up a little bit. After she touches the stick, lower that stick out of the way. Because she was like, do I touch the stick again or do I go for the tree?
Why don't you make the bird fly to the perch for the stick?
I agree with that.
Do that. Or climb down the arm to get there.
Good girl.
Tired your mouth?
No, you can't.
No, that's cheating. It's cheating.
And you said you haven't had success on the spin yet?
I did, and then I kind of...
You show me where you're at with it?
Good.
Fun.
It's just follow the stick, yeah.
So you're just having trouble phasing out the stick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't show you something.
Okay, this bird's throwing information at us really fast. Can I have you put her back just for a sec? And I'll explain some things, then we'll take her back. Can you put her in the crate?
Oh, in the crate.
Yeah, sorry. She's like, what? I just got out. Cool. So, first things first. Every single interaction is a training session. You're going to get more of the behavior you want or more of the behavior you don't want. So, if I know going into it, every single interaction is a training session, I'm going to be prepared prior to taking the animal out. Okay? I've worked with tigers in my life. There's no way I'm going to take the tiger out and be like, oh, where's the treat bag? Right? So, if these animals were big enough to kill you, how would you do it differently? I would make sure everything was set up perfectly. I would make sure the room was set up properly. I would make sure the T-stand's in the most optimal spot. You lost some opportunities for controlling the situation as you were digging for your stuff.
I agree with that, and I think also,
Grab some treats while you do
in a harsher way, you set her up to fail because you weren't ready. So you weren't ready to direct her, but you had the clicker and you had the target stick in your hand.
Yeah.
And then you're like, go over here. And she's like, okay, what do I get for going over here? Nothing. So then she'd fly over to you and you were like, mwah, 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 I love you so much. And then you were like, what's over here?
teaching her is that she gives
Yes. So I think it was like, the whole interaction was go here for nothing.
Yeah.
Just a kind of a subtle thing, but I could see her a little frustrated. Going back to the Chinese menu, right? I poked to the picture of chow mein. Well, if the waiter didn't have his glasses on, that picture's going to look pretty fuzzy, right? What am I trying to say? Well, you kind of did the same thing by having the target and then clicked, and then you gave the treat here, and the bird's like, boo, do I get the treat? Do I target? Do I get the treat? And since they're moving at 1,000,000 miles an hour, we want to make sure that picture is crystal clear, right? So when you click, then do the treat, and it's this, right? And it was the same for when you had the target stick here, your treats were visible, and she's like, I can fly.
Yeah, she's like, I'm just going to get the treats now.
Right? So that's where we have to
that problem a lot at home. It's like, I got the thing out, and she's just like, she'll just come take treats out of it.
Yeah, so we usually use like a little fanny pack, and we have treats in that at home. And so we have an empty hand, and then I put a clicker on a reel, and that's usually on the treat pouch as well. So I can I can click and then reach in and grab a treat, and everything's there, and I don't have to have visible treats for birds that are more hyperactive. Now, if it was Comet or Camelot macaw, nothing's going to make him like leave his perch, and so...
Let's stick away because the bird wants to touch it.
Good observation.
Yeah, you're
I want to touch
glad you're here.
Cool.
But yeah, the other thing is like I've kept treats in my pockets so much that if I just do this around my birds, they just assume
Yeah.
I have a treat in there. So it doesn't necessarily have to be that the treats are, because I know it's kind of awkward for you to be like finagling everything. It's totally okay if it takes you a second to retrieve that treat.
So Dave decides that he wants to train Webley the spin, and he wants to kind of get the momentum going before he passes it off to Angie, since she's having such difficulty. The thing I want you guys to pay attention to here is how long Dave works at this to get Webley to make it her decision to come over to the T-stand. He's trying to target her. She doesn't realize that there's something in it for her, and as soon as she does, she's willing to come to him. And so it's pretty cool that he got her onto this training stand by her own choice.
You don't have to have the bird touch the target when they go to the perch.
Okay.
And I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so you can tap. That's the behavior I wanted. So it's not necessary to also target.
Okay.
So let me spin the spin here. So we're going to go around. And there. I'm going to give a big one for that first one. So I'm going to choke down on the stick slightly. See how she doesn't have to touch it.
Okay.
I'm not going to click on that middle spot on this next one. She doesn't seem to need it. Choking down on the stick a little bit here.
So you're just trying to make this stick disappear.
Mm-hmm. And I'm clicking when that last foot hits the 180 degree mark. That's what I'm clicking for.
He's also making sure to interact with her before she finds it necessary to try to fly to him or get his attention in any other way that's unacceptable to us.
Man, you're smarter than I thought you were.
All right. Did you guys notice there's no stick?
Yeah.
Ready?
I like how she's thought about that. She's going to fly to you and she's just like, wait, I'll go with you.
Mm-hmm.
Stick with that though.
And see how my speeds get a little faster?
Yep.
All right. You want to pick up from there?
Sure.
All right. Here's your
Do you want to
stick.
do this over?
Let me have you do it, and then we'll switch over. Because you can see how fast everything's moving.
Okay.
And that's difficult without a little experience. The unwanted behavior was her flying away, so I was acting at that 4 millisecond point
You gotta go quick.
where I was doing it prior to good timing.
There you go. So I didn't mean you had to do the circle quick.
Oh.
You had to hurry up and interact with her.
Otherwise she's going to fly to me?
Yep.
Yep, go ahead. Nice. And then on the after the next rep, you can just put that stick in your back pocket.
Okay.
Good. So sneak the stick in your back pocket. Good job. And then once she's finished with that, she's going to look at you. Go ahead and cue with your index finger. It's okay. So pause there. Wiggle your finger. I'm trying to get her right here. So you might have to go back to the stick for a repetition or two. You kind of saw how I struggled through, and then I backtracked and a little forward.
Yep.
Nice. Well, do you want to try it?
Sure.
All right. So you kind of got the feel of the pacing. Do you want me to click for you?
No, I got
You're good? Okay.
You want some treats? Want some treats?
Ooh, baby.
Like, you got treats.
Ready? You're gonna come over here.
So no need to treat there yet. So go ahead and do
Go
spin.
this
Yeah.
way. Where we going this way?
Yeah. There.
Oh, come on.
So pause there. Now go.
There you go.
Nice.
I should move that first.
Good catch. Yep.
Isn't it interesting here how 3 people are trying to train the exact same behavior, yet it looks different, right? They're all using the same tools between the same treat, the same target stick, the same clicker, but they all do it a little bit differently. And we call this speaking with an accent. That's why sometimes when somebody tries to do something and then somebody else tries to do something, they don't realize that they have subtle, natural differences between how they ask a bird to do something. And so to the bird, it is a different behavior because it just looks and feels a little bit different from person to person. So that's why it's really important to back up and look at how somebody else is being successful with the bird in the household and try to mimic it as close to as possible for the utmost success and to have the clearest communication with the bird. So try to pick cues and subtleties that are easy for everybody in the household to mimic. And again, there's nothing wrong with speaking in an accent. This is totally normal. We just naturally, from human to human, we're different. So we're going to do things differently. Even if we watch somebody ahead of us do it and then we go to do it, it's going to just look and feel a little bit different, which is why we just need to be very hyper aware that this concept exists.
And it was the same thing because you were moving, or I would move my finger, you moved your finger, and you had your hand in a totally different way. Like, this was still similar, but as far as the overall movement, but you spoke with an accent. So it's really important, one, like we're trying to get multiple people in one class to do all the same things, but you can see how it's harder for the bird to learn the first time when the cue's slightly different with everybody. So that was why we're like, it's really important, where I could even come in and do it, even though you had all the stuff over here, I could say, no, do it right here, because the bird's like, oh, I know what that meant. Where since you were reteaching the behavior effectively and you did it slightly differently, not that you did it wrong, you just spoke with an accent. Yeah, and so that's why we say like one person teach a trick at a time. Obviously we're trying to maximize our time here today, so that's why we're throwing everybody in, but it's worth pointing that out so that as you're doing it, you can do it really clean.
And then the other important thing, and this happened in the class yesterday too, just because we're trying to get them to spin, we're not starting here, even though they're facing us in this direction, we're starting here. Because about this, there's a little sweet spot right here, and if you just stay there long enough, they turn around, and that's when you can continue on.
Their peripheral region.
Yep. So as soon as you get that initial, they start to turn, that's when you have permission to continue the turn. You weren't waiting for that turn, that's why you were just like, and nothing was happening. So once you get the sweet spot, they initiate that turn, now you have permission to finish it.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Whereas if you start here with the target, it seems like touch the stick.
Yeah.
Ah, sucker, can't touch it, because you just move it away from them. So it's very taunting in that way, which is why we start it here, so that they see it's there. In order to touch it, I have to start my motion.
Yeah, so I'm going to give you a buck.
I see what you mean.
Right? Yeah. That's what's happening to the bird, and we just need to be aware of that, because that feeling sucks. Today, we can get it to where you end up just doing the hand cue.
Yep.
And so you can pick up, and that's how we would traditionally do it, is I train something, and then to know if it's trained, Jamie will attempt it, and if the bird does it, then I know we dialed it in. If the bird doesn't do it, then Jamie would step through the process of learning quickly, and the bird will pick up all those steps much faster because it already understands the process of learning. It'll start to pick up, oh, I know where you're going with this, and then we'll reassign her hand cue, which to us looks the same, but it's said with a slight accent, and so that could be an outcome for you guys too. So super high energy, let's have treats ready and accessible, and then
I actually think that you should already be standing over here, and when you let
I like that too.
Yeah.
Maybe you get the bird even land on the perch rather than you.
Ooh, look where he's going. I like this. Come on, Wings.
No.
Fail. So no treat for that. But now go do the spin. Awesome. So because this bird has so much motivation, keep going. We don't have to just click and reinforce for every time that he flies or she flies to the perch.
Okay. But I should be clicking every he spins, though, right?
Yes.
No.
Just reward back on the bird.
And now you give the treat for the last paper. Awesome. So let's do one more with the stick, and then we'll phase it out. So do me a favor and don't step back between reps. That's causing a distance that makes her want to fly.
Nice. That was awesome.
I want you to take a half step forward right now, please. Perfect. That was a large step. Go back slightly. Yeah, right there. And then go ahead again whenever you're ready. Awesome. And now we're instead of going all the way around her head, go ahead and just stop at like a quarter. Just okay. Yep. Okay. And then keep going. Yep. We kind of tricked her. That's okay. Just about to go. We went too far too fast. She wasn't ready for that. So go back to where it was last working. Might need to stick again. Ooh, I know that one. And one more, just the tip of the stick, and then we'll go back to without. On the next one, you can bring your cue up about an inch, not further away, just up. Just good job. That same speed. Nice. You almost went slow and you fixed it. Keep that height and speed. That was delicious. So don't reward spinning the wrong way.
Okay.
Get her to stay a lot longer. It's good.
Oh.
And click. Notice how she's waiting on the perch for the treat?
Yeah.
Part of that is that you're only giving the treats on the perch, so she's like, I'm not going to waste the effort. So when she flew to you, you target her back. She didn't even get a treat for that. She then had to work to earn the treat. So it's helping her learn to station a little bit.
Okay.
So what you saw happen there was Webley actually offered the behavior, which is something that Dave set Angie up for. He said, don't cue anything, just wait and see what Webley offers. And she offered the turn in the wrong direction, which we did not reward. And then she turned in the correct direction, which we rewarded. This is called the begging phase. It's basically when the animal has made the association that when I do this behavior, I get a treat. So now I'm going to offer this behavior anytime I want a treat. And that's when you need to implement a cue and teach the bird that, hey, the only time you get a treat is when the cue is presented and then you do the behavior versus trying to cue the human for treats.
Can you see how that cue can start to phase out into a simple, like eventually just a point? So we'll build the anticipation up, so pause a little bit still. As she has higher anticipation, she'll be willing to go for less of a cue. Go ahead. Now let's do the same thing again. We'll let her wait. If she doesn't go on the first cue, let her fail.
Okay. So I'm just going to do like a half a cue?
Yep.
And if she fails,
Half a
just
cue.
fail.
Okay, pause. I'll have you flash for the treat and get a half cue. Okay, so that's not working, so let's make this one actually work. So go ahead and get the regular cue. Good. So I want to make sure we don't have 3 failures in a row.
Okay.
I call it the rule of thirds. We don't want to get into extinction burst realm of like she's tried it and she gets frustrated and quits.
Mm-hmm.
So if out of the first 2 attempts, if those first 2 didn't work, let's make sure she succeeds a third. Finish on this next one. Perfect. Do you want to try to step in and see if you can continue?
Any more treats?
So the reason I believe that Angie wasn't able to phase out that cue into a lesser cue is because she completely changed the cue. So instead of doing a half cue as Dave was instructing, she actually changed it. She went way higher. She went way faster. She changed too many things about the cue. What he was kind of going for was act like you're going to give the normal cue, but don't complete it. So instead of your hand going all the way around and making a full circle, only go halfway with that circle. It's really important when phasing out a cue that you get the bird to make that initial change and turn before you phase it out and start to pull it away.
Nice timing. Let's go ahead. Look at you. Cool. And we'll end on that. That was a great spot to end. That was really good.
Awesome.
Yeah.